watch the match.
Yeah, my quality actually surprisingly with that was not awful. I think it may have buffered for me once during the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight back in November. But other than that, I didn't really have any issues with it. On Monday, I had no issues at all. I think it buffered for me at like for once, like maybe 2 or 3 seconds during the Roman Reigns Solo Sikoa match. It did not completely, it buffered for like maybe 2 seconds. But other than that, it was smooth sailing from there. But otherwise, it was fine. But I think so far, like the look of the show looked great. The presentation of Raw on Monday looked really good. Not only the Netflix from a streaming standpoint, but as far as like aesthetically, they had a lot of drone shots on Monday, a lot of great new graphics, new theme. They didn't play an intro, but I thought from a presentation standpoint, it also looked really really good too.
Yeah, I think they did some different things. I mean, I like drone shots for the entrances. I don't really love them during the match. They're a mile
Yeah,
away.
they had a lot of
Like a
drone
4K
shots on.
camera either, so it's kind of choppy for me. And they do like the drone shot into like watching a match. But I think they did some new cool stuff. I mean, I think the new canvas was cool with the sponsors on it. I figured some people would get pretty bent out of shape about that, but I thought it looked decent. I like the new. I mean, it's very small, but the new announce table looks more like modern and looks just better than what they had. The one before looked like really ragtag and
Yeah.
really had no substance to it. This one looks like an actual like a nice table. It sounds stupid, but it looks like a
No, I
nice
agree.
like.
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks good in presentation wise. So I thought overall, like even the staging, I like how like it had like the little tunnel with the LED like video board.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think overall, I think it was a good start. And I thought like the quality wise looked good, and they kind of freshened some things up to make it look a little bit more professional.
I'm glad you mentioned the ring mat. That was kind of the talk of the town on Friday because they initially leaked it, WWE did, or someone within WWE. They were probably testing it out before Friday's SmackDown. They used the blue ring mat on SmackDown on Friday. And a lot has changed since then, obviously. Friday SmackDown saw the crowning of a new WWE Women's Champion in Tiffany Stratton, first 3 hour episode ever in the show's history. But it was leaked on Friday that we have logos on the mat now, so it didn't bother you too much. When I first saw that, I'm thinking, that's just too many logos. Because we went from having no logos on the mat to then having one with the Prime stuff, which people were bothered about that, which didn't bother me that much because it was one logo, whatever. And I don't even think that was during Raw. I think it was only on the PLEs.
Some PLE.
Yeah, it was just exclusive to PLEs. And now we have like fucking 9 logos. And I think there's some repeat logos in there too for like Riyadh season and Prime and some other stuff. But it didn't bother you though. It wasn't an eyesore.
No, I mean, you can see it, but I mean, I watch UFC. There's sponsors all over the place. Catch your eye occasionally, but I mean, if you're really paying attention, you're not really looking at the logos. Like I said, the UFC ring has like 30 of them, so
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, no, and it's only exclusive to Raw too. It's only a Netflix thing. It kind of felt like it was very corporate on Monday, not just from the logo standpoint on the ring mat, but just with a lot of the stuff that they talked about and kind of plugged in whatever. And I don't know if this is an annual thing, but a weekly thing with Raw as far as how they're going to be presenting the show going forward. But for the first week, I thought it was. It was fine. It was tolerable, but if it becomes a weekly occurrence, and when I say corporate, I mean like Rock out there thanking the Netflix executives. They think Netflix probably. I mean, if you took a shot for how many times they think Netflix should be dead, there was a lot of that on Monday, and it felt like a very kind of like a reset show where with a lot of storylines ending. But at the same time, it did also feel like I can understand from the standpoint that it wasn't a show for me or for you. It was for the casuals. I'm not even saying that's necessarily a good or bad thing. Some people were defending that. I'm just saying I can understand it. Did you feel the same way watching Raw on Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I mean, obviously with the first show on a new network, I feel like try to like verbally put over the company. I mean, I obviously like just there was a lot more suits there as well, but
Yeah.
I didn't really have too big of a problem with it. I mean, like the first show was more for everyone to check it out. They tried out every big name they could possibly get. And that's not going to be a weekly thing, so I thought it was. I didn't really overly bother me. I thought The Rock was a little much at points, but it wasn't too bad.
It was their first 3 hour Raw in the last couple of months. They went back to 2 hours, obviously, in early October. I know you said you were getting tired there by the end. Did you feel the 3 hours of the show? I mean, specifically during Jay and Drew, the crowd, you could tell, was quieting down. They were more exhausted. But did you feel that exhaustion of the 3 hours for the first time since we've gone back to 3 hours in the last couple of months?
I was just kind of more tired in general. I feel like it wasn't too bad. Like I wasn't like I feel like when it went to 2 hours, I was like stunned. Like I was like, when's there more?
Yeah.
I watched SmackDown full on Friday. I didn't feel like it was too bad. I mean, definitely something to get used to. I mean, there were a decent amount of commercials in the middle too, so I feel like that might have probably had some fatigue for some people. But
Yeah.
overall, didn't think it was too bad.
Yeah, no, SmackDown too. I mean, I feel like for at least the first week, Raw were used to being 3 hours with the roster they have, and just it was 3 hours under Triple H for a long time before they went back to 2 hours in October, and it was only 2 hours for like 3 months. But SmackDown has never been 3 hours, so I was curious to see how that would pan out. And I thought overall it went well on Friday. I thought it was a good show. I don't know if they can kind of maintain that every single week. This isn't Raw related, but before we get into the Rock stuff, which is my main talking point here today, which I got into a little bit on Tuesday, but we'll talk more about it now. But I do want to get your quick thoughts as well. I know you're a big fan as well. Tiffany Stratton, new WWE Women's Champion, crowned on SmackDown, cashing in her Women's Money in the Bank briefcase. Not exactly overly shocking. I did feel like first SmackDown of the new year, it would make sense to start fresh, new champion, and that's exactly what happened. So, what were your 2 cents on Tiffany Stratton becoming the new champ on Friday night?
I was pumped. I mean, I thought they basically had to come out cash in, and then she faked it, helped Nia. Seemingly was like, well, because she's not cashing in, and then what happened. So I was very excited. I think it was the right move. They said they had been teasing tension or some kind of distension recently too, because Nia's obviously been more friendlier with Candice LeRae, so that kind of made more sense. She's kind of been pushing out Tiffany. I mean, one thing I feel like people just overlook. I mean, that KOD by Bianca Belair was chef. I mean, I don't think she's hit a better one than I don't know if she's ever hit a better one. That one looked beautiful. I mean, even though Nia's already halfway up there, that's a lot of strength, and there really isn't too much help there. So I thought that looked really good. That kind of was like, holy shit. And then Tiffany pulled her out, cashed in, hit the moonsault, 1, 2, 3. I think it was the right move. It's Tiffy time on SmackDown, and she should be ready to lose that belt to Charlotte at WrestleMania.
You think that's the match they're going with? Because I do too.
I would say so.
Do you think we should get used to Charlotte Flair, the idea of her winning the Women's Royal Rumble coming up in a few weeks? I think you could set that up without her winning the Rumble.
But she needs to win it. I think she'll be. I think she'll be going for the title at Mania.
Hey, listen, I think that's the match to do. I know there's a lot of talk right now what card they're going with, card 1, card 2, a lot of ongoing changes with people. Specifically, it comes down to The Rock and what he wants to do and whatnot. But I think that they could do, I think they could do Tiffany and Charlotte regardless of regardless of what happens at the top, because we still don't know exactly what Becky's doing. We've heard a lot of talk of, whether she's coming back to do this, or maybe I've seen people pitch the Lyra Valkyria idea that you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, which I agree with. Next week we are getting the finals of that Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament. Becky comes out afterward or the following week or soon after to confront Lyra if she wins. No guarantee she will win, but I think hopefully she will. But we'll see. And Dakota Kai winning would also be a great moment. It's a win-win in my opinion. But I think you could set up Lyra and Becky, and it sounds like that's not exactly set in stone as of now. I think Tiffany and Charlotte is a match that you can do regardless, and I think those two would have a great match at Mania. And I think Tiffany going forward with her as a babyface, is that the right move in your opinion, and Charlotte being the heel?
I would say so. I feel like she's starting to kind of get. She was starting to get like babyface. Just go in that direction. I mean, she beat Nia. Heel. I would just push her as a babyface, and Charlotte's just the natural heel.
No, I think it's just a natural dynamic that makes sense. Alexis did chime in the chat and said, was I the only one that liked the ring mat? I mean, you're not the only one, but I mean, there were definitely, I think you were in the minority there. Just because did you like it, Mr. Marceau, or were you just not, you weren't bothered by it?
I mean, it's like, but like I said, I feel like when I watch UFC, it's like that on steroids. So it didn't really bother me because it's, like I said, if you look at any UFC canvas, there's like 20 sponsors all over the place. You really just be like, yeah, you do see it, but to me, it doesn't bother me, so I didn't mind it. Yeah, it's not like I'm like I love the mat. I think the blue mat was different. I mean, that caught my eye. I mean, the referee's new outfit, like the new color outfits they're wearing, like the shirts, that caught my eye. I like those. But the ring, like the mat itself was fine. I'm not like I was like head over heels, like, oh, this is amazing. But I wasn't like, this is so fucking dumb. Like, why are they putting? I thought it was fine because, like I said, I mean, Fortnite got probably a decent amount of coverage out of it. So
Yep.
I mean, no issues for me.
I mean, quite honestly, too, I think it's one of those things that we're just going to get used to over time anyway. I mean, I wasn't exactly overly thrilled with the idea when I first saw it on Friday SmackDown, or I mean, not on SmackDown, but when it was leaked during SmackDown. My first thought was, I don't love this. I think it looks silly, but at the same time, one, UFC does it, like you said. And two, we're all going to be over this and just accept it as reality within like a week anyway, so it doesn't even really matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
And just like so like butthurt about stuff like that. Like I remember when they first like announced it, like, oh, like I don't want to like remember Cody's memory or his story being finished on top of a Prime logo. Like, dude, you're never gonna remember that.
puts my hand
Like
down.
that's like saying, like, oh, Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo. Like, oh yeah, he got knocked out. Like, you moment, you don't remember like, oh, when Ronda Rousey got knocked out, she was laying on a fucking Boost Mobile sponsor. No one remembers. Like, that's so dumb. And such a wrestling fan, like, worrying about something that has nothing to do with anything. If the sponsor itself won't ruin the memory of this happening. Like, oh, I didn't like when Charlotte won the Rumble because there's a Harley Davidson logo on the ring. Who gives a fuck?
So is it bad that I was just about to complain about that, or no?
It's not that big of a deal.
I will say
This
this,
you want to complain about something.
unless you're just looking for something to complain about. Now,
Correct.
I agree, but I did forget until you brought it up. The referee shirts are also different. They did change their shirts. I thought it was just a Raw Netflix thing, and maybe on SmackDown starting not last week, but this week, they would have maybe a blue shirt. Like I'm thinking, like at Ruthless Aggression, because didn't during the Ruthless Aggression period, didn't the Raw refs have like gray ref shirts, or am I just making that up? What was it back then? Oh, okay, that's what it was. And then NXT, not NXT, ECW, I think had a black shirt or it was a gray shirt. They had something different, I think.
It was could have been blacks.
Yeah, so we saw the new ref shirts on Monday, but then the refs on NXT were wearing the same shirt. So I think that's just a company wide thing and not just Raw.
Weak and new. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing like crazy, but I mean, I think it's a new little look and it looked decent.
yeah. No, I thought it looked decent. I thought it was a nice little change, if nothing else. But we got to address the elephant in the room here. We got to address the pebble, the Rock in the room. The Rock was back on Monday night. Well, first of all, the opening video package was great. I mean, I know you sent that to me. You really enjoyed the opening video package, right?
Yeah, it was great.
So we had Triple H. Yeah, that looked fucking cool. Obviously, I mean, imagine if that was something you could buy at some point. Maybe they won't make replicas of it, but if they like sold it at an auction or something, that would make a. Honestly, if I don't see that thing on WWE Shop at the end of the day in blanket form, I'm gonna be pretty fucking pissed because I feel like that would make for definitely a great tapestry. But that was what actually opened the show. And then The Rock came out, which we knew he was going to be there. Not as of last Thursday when we last spoke and were previewing the show. He confirmed his appearance shortly beforehand, saying that he was going to be in the area. He was there for the award ceremony the day before in Los Angeles. So he comes out to the Final Boss theme, wearing the Final Boss vest. And then he goes on to say absolutely nothing. And I'm not saying Jericho circa 2012 when he came out going, yeah, yeah, and he didn't, say anything for fucking 20 minutes. I'm saying he spoke. We heard from The Rock, but he just didn't really say anything of substance whatsoever. Specifically, he was thanking the Netflix executives, talking about Raw being on Netflix, talking about being the final boss. He thanked Cody Rhodes, saying he was doing a great job of carrying the company. The same man who he made bleed his own blood, in the words of the dodgeball. I forgot the character's name. I'll make you bleed my own blood, or whatever that quote was.
White Goodman.
White Goodman, thank you, White Goodman. In the words of White Goodman, he made him bleed his own blood on Raw last year, right outside of his tour bus. And then he thanked Roman Reigns and said he's doing a great job. Blah blah blah. This was not final boss Rock, Mr. Marceau. This was corporate Rock. And worse than that, we did see him again after that. It's not like as if we didn't see him. We did see him after Tribal Combat was over. Spoiler alert, won by Roman Reigns. We'll get into the match itself and everything surrounding Tribal Combat and whatnot in a couple minutes. But The Rock did come out after that, and he hugged Roman Reigns. he embraced Roman Reigns. No turn, which is fine. I kind of figured, okay, we're going to have to wait on that. I wasn't really mad about that. I was more so disappointed by what we got from The Rock, including on NXT, which I knew we weren't going to get anything storyline significant from The Rock on NXT, but it was, again, just a whole bunch of nothing. So before I go further with my, I guess you could say, rant here, what was your top takeaway from this promo, or lack thereof, of whatever the fuck we got from The Rock on Monday night?
It was interesting, to say the least. It was just like you said, it was corporate Rock, like verbally, just like putting himself over the company. Wasn't really what I was expecting, so just like he just like was talking about himself, and he was the high chief, and he was the head of the table, and he got like anointed, and then he pointed up to the Netflix suite and just like talked about the executives and how great it's to be there. He sounded like Tony Schiavone at one point. Listen, it's great to be here. We're on Netflix. Then he talked about Cody, and he loves him, and he thanks him for carrying the company, and then he loves Roman Reigns.
Yep.
He's going to be watching Tribal Combat. But then he came out later to, like, get involved again for no reason. It was just, like, a typical, like, talk about myself, talk about the company, political word salad. Nothing was really said. It was just a lot of words. And it left a lot of people being like, what did I just watch? And then, of course, in classic Rock fashion, comes out on NXT, was like, well, just enjoy the ride you're on. But, like, the ride we're currently on makes no sense, and I really don't give a shit to see it.
Here's my big thing. He did say in NXT, like you said, enjoy the... I saw everyone complaining online, oh, yeah, The Rock acknowledged Cody Rhodes. I thought they hated each other. Well, just, shut the fuck up, basically, is what he said, and enjoy the ride, like you said. But, as they brought up before, and as I said the other day on Twitter, the ride that we were supposed to be on, I was in line for that ride. All right, I was in line for that ride last year, and I was looking forward to getting on that ride after waiting 5 years or whatever for Rock versus Roman. I was in line for that ride. But the timing of it was terrible, and we were supposed to go on the ride that Rock was going to take us on, as he said, and that ride was so fucking bad. And it's not as if we just accepted it and that we're going to like it. If the fans liked it, they would not have rebelled last year. And if the fans didn't rebel, we would not be looking at Cody Rhodes, more likely than not, as the current WWE champion. He wouldn't have finished his story. So my question to you is, and I guess it's more of a hypothetical question, but I just have this question for you in general. Why would they want us to trust The Rock and the direction that he's taking us in with this ride, if the ride, quote unquote, that we were on last year before they changed course was also garbage? That makes no sense to me.
I don't know. That's why I feel like people are like, we don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be full in or full out. Like, it seems like he's kind of half, like he shows up when he wants, and he comes back, leaves, comes back. It's like something totally different than like we just saw him a couple months at Bad Blood, and seemingly we're gonna get like him and Roman or Cody or something. Then now he's just talking about how great they are.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if this, like, I guess that's the thing, is like, oh, what's this supposed to be, like a little swerve? I don't know, but like the problem is they're also the whole direction of like the main event scene is basically hinging on him. So it's like they can't say what they want to do now, and then like in a month if he's like, I want to come back, that's gonna change everything for him. Like, at this point, you have to be full in or full out. I'm tired of this half in, half out shit.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it was one of those things where he came out and it just expected you to like what he was trying to say. In the big defense, I guess kind of me going off on the feedback here of what people have given this promo, what people told me and what I saw people saying online was, well, of course, he's going to praise him because he's going to lure Cody in to a false sense of security, and then he's going to turn on him. But then I ask you, Mr. Marceau, would that not make Cody look like a fucking idiot? First of all, I mean, I'm still not over a year ago when he said, I want you, Roman Reigns, but not at WrestleMania, and then willingly gave up his WrestleMania spot, to which they never really fully explained that. They put out a whole documentary last year about how they legitimately changed course with what they were going to do at WrestleMania, because so many people did not like what they were going to do. And not just the online, not just the internet, not just the IWC or just the subsection of Twitter. It was a majority of people, because otherwise when he went to these house shows and stuff, not The Rock, but at house shows that weekend and Raw that Monday night, there was a negative enough reaction to the backlash of the news and whatnot that it forced them to change course within a week before they did that Las Vegas press conference a little bit later on, right after Rock did that. So, again, the idea that they're doing this on purpose with Rock trying to be a babyface to Cody, I mean, is that not just stupid? Why would you have him, endear himself to Cody when he could just beat the shit out of him like we saw last year? Again, it's like making it more convoluted for the sake of making it convoluted.
Yeah, I mean, Cody would look like the biggest idiot if he fell for Rock, like, sucking up to him and then Rock turning. The last time we saw them, they were literally against each other. Or, thanks for being the head of the company, you're just going to just accept that all the thing. Like, he just beat his ass last year with a belt. Like, also now he's just they're going to be best friends. He said that thanks for carrying the company. I mean, Cody hugged him. Like, he wasn't even reluctant. He just did it. I just, like I said, if he just fell for that and that's the direction they're going, Cody's the biggest moron.
Yeah, no, he's going to look like a massive idiot if they do go in that direction and he falls for it and gets betrayed by The Rock again, a lot like he did last year. Alexis said that's how it felt when he spoke in NXT. She also said it was cringy, and she said, good question about The Rock. My answer would be to let it play out, brother. I mean, that's basically what people are saying. Let it play out, right? Let it play out.
No, thank you.
No fucking thanks. Hey, listen, we let this story play out last year, and before we saw it fully play out, it was fucking garbage. And we know that it was going to be garbage, because if it wasn't garbage, then they wouldn't have done what they did, which was a much better alternative. It just doesn't make sense. But let me ask you this. My hope was, I'm such an idiot. I'm so naive. I thought when Rock said he was going to be at Raw on Monday, I'm thinking, great. This is going to shut down all the speculation, all the rumors and innuendo and whatnot about The Rock being at WrestleMania. Clearly, he would not be on this show if he was not locked and loaded in for WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Clearly, he's going to be there, whether it's Rock, whether it's Roman, whether it's Cody, whether it's fucking Triple H himself. Obviously not, but you know what I'm saying. Regardless of who he is or who he's facing in WrestleMania, he's going to be there, and he's going to say that he's going to be there, and we're going to find out on Monday because he's going to kick off that storyline. Guess what did not happen, Mr. Marceau? He did not do that. He decisively did not tell us whether he would be there or not be there. And I think that's a shoot. I quite honestly think we're in the exact same situation that we were in a year ago, where we do not know if Rock is going to be at WrestleMania. And I feel like he's going to make that decision at the worst possible point, to which, after they already set in plans to do a certain thing at WrestleMania, then he's going to say, you know what, brother? I can be there at WrestleMania. Book me in a top match. And he's not going to be satisfied with work in the opening match. He's going to have to be in the main event against Rock, Cody, or some other, inconvenient situation that he's going to plug himself into. I feel like that's the reality of what we're dealing with right now. What we're seeing on TV, I feel like, is what they're dealing with behind the scenes.
No, I completely agree. I just think I think they're better off with him not being.
Wow. No, honestly, you're not wrong. Yeah.
They don't need him.
No.
They don't need him. If they at this point, all we really want, and it's getting to the point now. You said this last year. I'm just at the point now. I don't even really want to see it. But besides Rock and Roman, it's the only match I really want to see. And at this point, they're dragging out so long. I don't know if I want to see it anymore. I just don't need to see him. Honestly, it's just like the movies. I just don't need to see The Rock anymore. I just need a break.
I almost choked there for a second. Realistic situation there here, though. We saw what we saw on Monday night. What if Rock does work WrestleMania? And I can't imagine that he would work anyone at WrestleMania but Cody Rhodes, right? I mean, why would he do anything else at WrestleMania but face Cody Rhodes after what we saw last year, where he, first of all, disrespected Cody? He pinned Cody at WrestleMania in the tag team match on night one. And then he's going to come back and face Roman. I thought, then why would you plant the seeds for himself versus Cody if we were not going to get that match for his next match back? I mean, whether it's a WrestleMania or somewhere else, that's got to be his next match back, right? Before he faces Roman?
I would say so, but I don't. You said I'm getting to the point I don't want to.
It's just ridiculous because even a year ago, I was questionable to the fact, like, okay, I do want to see Rock and Cody because they did a great job of making that feel more like the attraction for WrestleMania 40 than Cody versus Roman was. All the Rock Final Boss stuff was great last year after he turned heel. That's important to note. But it felt like a bigger deal than whatever Roman was doing going into WrestleMania. It kind of overshadowed that. Now, when push came to shove, Cody and Roman was a great match, great moment. They finished the story in beautiful fashion. But I am worried that this Rock stuff, yet again, will overshadow whatever they have going on going into WrestleMania. And for a lot of people, we do not know what the roads to WrestleMania will look like. And also the problem is, if Rock and Cody doesn't happen at WrestleMania, you know we're going to get that at some point, which at that point, if Rock does come back to do that match, it might be another 2 or 3 years before we get Rock versus Roman. And you said yourself, you're at a point now where you feel like they've never needed The Rock, so I agree with that. I'm at a point now where it's not where I don't want to see it necessarily. Like I said, they set it up tomorrow. I would look forward to it. But the longer this goes on for, Rock's not getting any older, or any younger, rather. We're all getting older, but he's definitely not getting any younger. And I've said this before. I feel like when we do get the match, even if it was last year or this year or next year, it probably is not going to be that good. I think the real appeal of a Rock and Roman match is the feud itself and the promos, not even necessarily the match. I mean, Roman, he's moving on from the bloodline shit. He beat Solo Sikoa in Tribal Combat on Monday. I mean, what is this guy going to be, 65 before we finally do the fucking match? It's ridiculous.
No, I agree. I just feel like you said it. I feel like you would have to do Cody and Rock first. So if we get me, okay. But I mean, if they do that, I guess I'm fine. And then I guess you could do Roman and Rock at like SummerSlam. I know they have the first 2 nights of SummerSlam. They're gonna need something big on both nights. So maybe do that one of the nights, and it's just the Rock moves on, and we finally just get away from the Rock. But at this point, we don't even know if he's working WrestleMania because he gave us no answers on Raw. So if I was taking a guess, I'd say he probably is, but what he did on Raw didn't really give us kind of a glimpse either way.
It is comical to me because clearly he is prioritizing, other stuff over the WWE stuff, which again is fine. He's a movie star. I understand that. But then don't sit there and fucking lie to me and say it's not a scheduling issue. You can see, what did he say to Pat McAfee a year and a half ago? I control the schedule. That is literally what he said. He said it on Pat McAfee's fucking show, and he has said that many times. I control the schedule. Okay, well, if you control the schedule, then why haven't you been back yet? Since, I mean, the Bad Blood cameo in retrospect, back in October, completely fucking pointless. He came out to tease Cody and Roman and 1, 2, 3. What the fuck was that even about? Was not acknowledged on SmackDown after the fact. Led nowhere. No acknowledgement of that when he came back on Monday. It was almost as if it never even happened. Unless you look it up on YouTube, you would probably even forget that it happened. So no acknowledgement of that. And it just makes no sense. It just makes no sense as to why he would say, no, I can control the schedule, I can do all this other shit. But he's out there doing Moana reshoots and doing this next movie and plugging that and doing this other business shit. Listen, I get he's a bigger star than John Cena, but I stick by what I said on Twitter the other day, either before Raw, after Raw, I forgot when I said it. But if he really wants to come back to do this match and get this shit the fuck over with so we can move on from everything revolving around The Rock, then he can do it. He is absolutely capable of doing it. John Cena's capable of doing it, and he has done it. I mean, I'm not exactly thrilled with the fact that Cena said his next match would be the Rumble in a month, and then he may not be back before then. We'll get to that in a moment. But with The Rock stuff, could he not just clear everything, or at least most things, for a couple of months, if not 6 months? I'm not saying he's going to be working fucking Raw, but like he can come back and do like when he came back originally to WWE, 2011, 2012, 2013, specifically when he was WWE champion in 2013. Seemingly, I mean, he was a big star even then. He did clear a schedule for a couple months to do the Punk match, to do the Punk rematch, to do the WrestleMania match. I don't understand why we can't find ourselves in a similar situation in 2025, where, especially when Cena's doing that, can he not do that? It's just a bad look, in my opinion.
Yeah, you just need to let it play out, bro. He's got you. He's working you right now.
The best part is when they inevitably change plans again. Are they going to say, are all these fans going to say, that was the plan the entire time? They had you. You just were complaining and you couldn't see through the woods to see out into the light, or whatever that fucking expression is. It's like, no, the best part is there is no plan. And I think it's very obvious, too. You know what I mean? Like, if he was working me...
Like...
Yep.
Like... Kisses his mom on the forehead, gives his daughters the title, and then nothing. Enjoy the Rock. It makes no sense. And like you said, it could be Elimination Chamber the next night on Raw. He comes back and, oh, no, I'm going up to Cody now. Like, who knows? Like, it's just like, end the speculation. Just tell us where we're going here. Like, drawing this out longer and longer doesn't make anyone more. I mean, if anything, it draws people away from it because it seems like you're just, like you said, like, there's two different plans. WWE has a plan. And since Rock's on the fucking TKO board of directors, he always has a say, and they clearly allow him to do this. Then he can just say last minute, oh, I want to go for the belt now, and they're just going to do it. So at this point, people just see him as like a fight. Like, it's the problem is too. It's all about him. That's the problem when it comes to The Rock. It's always about The Rock. It's always about him. He always makes everything about himself, and it's to the point now I feel like people are just sick of it.
And I enjoy The Rock. Listen, I pop whenever he comes back. I think Rock being around is good for business. It gets more eyes on the product. That's great. But when we hold up these creative plans for this guy, and it's not just a this year thing, it was a last year thing. I mean, there was all the discussion. Remember 2 years ago? All the discussion about, oh, Rock and Roman at WrestleMania in Hollywood. It makes sense. Why aren't we doing it? Blah, blah, blah. And they didn't do it because he said, we couldn't come up with a creative enough plan. Let's put our pencils down. And even 2 years later, I still say to myself, what the fuck does that even mean? Put our pencils down. I mean, dude, the stuff that you were going to come back and do a year ago was even less creative than that. If that was so uncreative, then why did he come back insulting Jinder Mahal, talking about the United States of America? I mean, stop with this bullshit about like, oh, we got to do something that's never been done before. I mean, yeah, he's never been on NXT before, but that appearance on Tuesday did draw them their biggest rating in 5 years, which is great for NXT. I'm not saying it's a failure. But he was out there forgetting his lines. He was saying fuck 1,000 times, so they bleeped it on, which is fun for the crowd in attendance that can hear it. But when I'm watching the show on TV and they're bleeping out every other word, I'm like, what the fuck is even the point of this? Just completely ridiculous. I mean, come on, man. Like you said, it's always about The Rock. And it's always like, well, and it's not even like, well, if I come back, I'm settling for doing like a mid-card match, which obviously you're not going to put The Rock in a mid-card match. But if he comes back, it's all or nothing. He's either in the main event or he's not doing anything at all. So that's the problem. And then all these other people have to suffer for it. It's like, and I said this the other day on hashtag, like all those years when Brock was champion for like fucking 2 years because it had to be Roman Reigns who beat him. It's like, no, it fucking doesn't. At this point, no one wants to see that. Rock and Roman will still be a draw at some point, but we just got to get this shit over with. Are you telling me Cody Rhodes is going to be champion until we finally get this match in a fucking year or two? I mean, Cody Rhodes did not need to be champion this entire time. That's completely ridiculous. By that point, people will forget even what the issue was between the two, especially after Monday night when they're out there tongue kissing each other. It's ridiculous.
I think, yeah, I completely agree with stuff. Like, he could give two shits less. He just like when the money hits his bank account. Yeah. That Vince just obsessed with Brock being champion and Roman beating him. This is just The Rock. Like, I need to be involved in everything, and like I'm the greatest. Da da da. Like the world is around me. Like you said, the problem is he's not coming back for like to put someone over like a mid card feud or like just prop up the marquee a little bit, like Cena basically is. Like if he's involved, it's got to be the top thing, or the way he wants it, and if not, he's not coming back.
Yep. The literal
and it's gonna piss people off because we don't really want to see it.
It's literally the opposite of John Cena with The Rock, and I'm sure many others in that company towards the top of the card. It's political bullshit like, oh, got to be working this main event, brother. Like, oh, I don't want to put this person over, don't want to work with that guy, blah, blah, blah. I feel like we see a lot, not see a lot of it like apparently, but I feel like that stuff is sort of apparent in AEW with as far as like, if you want to work with this guy, we'll let you work with that guy. But at some point, the boss, Triple H, whoever, Tony Khan, has got to put their foot down and say, no, like, it makes more sense for you to do this. We're not doing this bullshit of you picking who you want to choose to face and whatever. Like, if this is the match that makes sense, this is the direction we're going in, we got to start fucking planning here. Where push comes to shove, WrestleMania is in 3 months, sure, but the Royal Rumble's in a couple of weeks. We got to start setting shit up in a few weeks. And with The Rock, he's like, oh, yeah, like, I got to be working Cody. I want to work Roman. No, the fuck you're not. I mean, you want to, I get that. But if they're busy doing other shit, then the match isn't happening. And if you want to work the match that bad, then fucking commit. I've never seen someone with more of a commitment issue in my entire life than Dwayne The Rock Johnson when it comes to WWE. And like I said, John Cena is the exact opposite. He can give two fucks. He has literally said in interviews, I'm not saying he hasn't been political in the past, because, see Alex Riley and all this other issue. Bray Wyatt, he was one of those guys that did not speak up enough to where when it did make sense for him to win certain matches, at least back in the day, Nexus, he probably should have said something, or he said, oh yeah, no, I should win, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying he's never been that way, but recently he's just like, hey dude, I'm back for the run, tell me what you need from me, and I'll fucking do it. Whether it's right or wrong, I'll just fucking do it. Like, you want me to put over Austin Theory? Great, I'll fucking bury him in a promo before WrestleMania, but I'll put him that he will never recover from, but I'll put him over at WrestleMania in the mid-ass match. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Like, he just goes with the flow. I feel like The Rock's the exact opposite, and that's the dilemma that we find ourselves in the moment.
No, I completely agree. Committed, great. If you're not, move on.
Exactly. Listen, we got Tribal Combat on Monday. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa. We're talking a lot about Roman Reigns. I actually enjoyed this match. I didn't know if I would. Not that I didn't know if I wouldn't like it, but like Roman and Solo, not exactly two in-ring technicians here, all right? So the first early goings of the match weren't exactly overly exhilarating, but I thought for what it was fine. But once they picked up the pace and the bullshit kicked in, this was a classic like bloodline rules type match. It was called Tribal Combat. It's much better than the last Tribal Combat match that they got at SummerSlam 2023. I'll tell you that, Matt. I'll tell you that much, especially the finish. We were there for Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, and I will never forget your reaction when Jimmy Uso got involved and cost Jey the win. This was this was the exact opposite, thankfully. Jimmy Uso got involved in this one as well. Thankfully, different outcome. I mean, same outcome with Roman Reigns winning, but satisfaction level was different this time. Roman Reigns did win. We got Cody Rhodes involved, Kevin Owens involved. I thought this was really well done. Crowd was into it, specifically the second half, and Roman Reigns finally puts this shit to bed, gets the Ula Fala back, acknowledged by The Rock, which again will probably plant the seed for something down the road, but for right now it means fucking nothing, especially if it's not leading anywhere anytime soon. But whatever. I thought the match was fun. So what were your thoughts on this? Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa and Tribal Combat.
I thought the match was good. I thought it was done well, and Roman won, which I thought was the right decision. Rock boost his ego per usual, and I thought Owens coming out and Cody coming out to kind of thwart him away, and then Jimmy and Sammy kind of to negate Jacob and Tama was good as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that was done. Both those were done well to kind of continue both of those, and Roman won, which is the right decision. Like I said, Rock obviously had to get involved to smooch him and put the Ula Fala on him. Maybe it'll lead to something, maybe it won't, or maybe Rock just wants some more airtime on Netflix. But Roman won, and I had no issues there.
Yeah, no, I thought they did a nice job of finishing this story. I enjoyed the match for what it was. Rock any more airtime, you're exactly right about that. But I think the big question is we got a lot of endings on this show. We have a lot of finality with a lot of these feuds. But then it does leave me asking the question, which I'll probably ask you a few times here, as far as most of what we saw on Monday night. What's next? What is next for Roman Reigns? Because if he's not facing The Rock in Vegas, which I mean, they really should have done him, and they really should have done Rock and Cody already to get that shit over with, and then move on for Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. Which clearly, to me, it's just not happening. I already knew that, but now it's even more obvious to me, especially after what happened on Monday. It's not happening anytime soon. I'll put it that way. It'll probably happen when it's at a point where no one gives a shit, but it's not happening at WrestleMania. So instead, what do you do with Roman Reigns? We've talked about it before, but there's been a lot of discussion of Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. That's a pretty big possibility. How do you get there? I would have to imagine Roman Reigns will be in the Royal Rumble match. He made a sound, not a sound. He made a that makes sense. Yeah, he did. He made that sound during the match. He made it known. He did say later on in the show that he would be back on January 27th, which sounded so fucking random. I'm thinking, why would he say January 27th? And then he walked into a room where they closed the door, and it was the WWE 2K25 logo. So clearly he'll either be on the cover or involved in the game in some capacity as far as announcing what's next for the game, blah, blah, blah. So it sounds like we will not see Roman on SmackDown this week. We have not seen Roman on SmackDown in months, by the way. The fucking show that he's supposed to belong to. But he probably won't be back until Raw in a few weeks, and maybe at that point he'll announce his entry into the Royal Rumble, because at the same time, remember, he has not gotten a shot at the championship that he lost a year ago, so you would think he would want it back, and in the Rumble he doesn't have to be pinned. So is that the logical direction that we are heading with Roman Reigns, you think?
It seems like it. I mean, I don't know what you really do with him in the interim. I mean, I think you put him on the Royal Rumble, maybe kick off his program there. I'm still pushing for Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Solo, so hopefully we're done with that. I think him versus Jacob would be the best. If he's not going for the title, would be the best possible outcome right now. Maybe you have him get thrown out of the Rumble by them. Similar to just past years, you just have them just destroy Roman Reigns. Roman's gone for a little bit, comes back, kicks off the program for Mania. Doesn't need a title. I think maybe I just think that's the best outcome right now. Him and Punk right now just doesn't really seem like it's necessary and needed right now. So I would push that out a little bit further. I think Roman and Jacob, to me, would be the best Mania match for now for Roman.
I agree. I think that's the match to do. I'm still convinced that we're getting Roman and Punk because they got so excited over the numbers that their interactions did around Survivor Series season, so they might just go to that just because they know it's going to do really well analytically and on social media. And I mean, it's a match I'm looking forward to. I just don't really feel like right now is the right time for it. We're in the midst of this Roman bloodline stuff, which is hopefully mostly over. But if we're still here at this point, you might as well just do Roman and Jacob. Not that if they don't do it this year, you can never do it. You could always do it down the road. But I do feel like that's the match for WrestleMania this year. Because the Punk one kind of feels like it's coming out of nowhere. I mean, I would have done Rock and Roman, but we're just not at that point. But Solo Sikoa did lose here decisively. Solo did say in a SmackDown segment months ago that if he lost to Roman Reigns, lost the Ula Fala to Roman Reigns specifically, that he would acknowledge Roman Reigns. And he didn't acknowledge him on Monday. I think he even said on SmackDown last week, he said, if he loses, I will acknowledge my new tribal chief. He didn't do it on Raw this week. Maybe it's coming on SmackDown. But let me ask you this. How the fuck do Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa is not there right now, but how the fuck do Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga continue to acknowledge, quote-unquote, Solo Sikoa when he's no longer the tribal chief? He has not won an important match in ages. I mean, what's next for the bloodline as it is? Is the bloodline over? Or does Jacob Fatu take over as the new leader? Because I feel like that might be where we should be going with this logically if Solo Sikoa continues to lose. And this is the same guy a year ago that said losing has consequences.
No, I think that's the direction it should go, and I think maybe on SmackDown we get out there and says that he acknowledges Roman Reigns and says, like, I can't be the tribal chief, and Jacob takes over, and there we go. I mean, makes sense.
Off to the races, yeah.
You can't really have a bloodline who's still lost, like, multiple times to Roman. Like, clearly he's not the tribal chief, so someone else got to do it, or try to do it, at least.
You would think. I mean, otherwise the bloodline are just a bunch of losers. They're just bloodline losers. I mean, and what else can you possibly do with these guys if they continue to lose? Like, honestly, do you even see a match that makes sense for them at WrestleMania if they're wrestling, like, if they're still with Solo by WrestleMania season? Unless Solo is putting the fries in the bag, bro, as they say, then what the fuck else is this guy doing at WrestleMania?
Solo, I have no idea.
Roman, yeah.
Roman, so like that, he's figured out. Tama Tonga, being catering probably. I don't think I'd see him in a match. But that, I mean, Solo, I don't know. Maybe there's a babyface champion, United States champion. You go for that. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of for him. I mean, besides that, I don't know what to do with him. He's lost kind of his aura at this point. I think it's time for Jacob to take over, and at this point, I don't really know what you do with Solo.
He's gotten better. I mean, I got to give the devil his due. Yeah, he's improved and he's gotten better. I just don't know. I feel like he's peaked in terms of his placement on the card because he's not facing Cody for the belt. We've already seen that a whole bunch of fucking times. He's not facing Roman again. He's already lost to him a few times in tag team matches and including on Monday night. Legitimately, even if he moves to Raw, I do not know what you do with this guy. Like, he's already lost the bloodline aura. I mean, he is a mid-carder as it is anyway. He was never really... I mean, they've tried with him as a main eventer and it's been fine. But there's other people I would rather see in that spot, personally. So, Nick chiming in the chat saying hello. Nick, thank you for joining us. But, yeah, honestly, with Solo, I have no fucking clue. They'll probably be in the Rumble and try to do that spot where it's like, oh, yeah, the three of us, someone's got to take us out. And then Roman will come out and spear all three of them and throw them all out. Maybe, hopefully, except for Jacob. But Solo's fucking... I don't want to say he's cooked, but I feel like his push is cooked. Yeah, I don't want to say he's cooked, but he's cooked. Is that the best way to put it?
He's in trouble.
I think so. We talked about John Cena a little bit earlier. He did declare entry for the Men's Royal Rumble match. This went exactly as we expected it to. I was hoping that they would set up his next opponent, though. That did not happen. He just came out and said, I haven't won a match in almost 2,500 days, and I'm a loser, and I want number 17, but you know what? I'm going to enter the Rumble, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty much what we thought would happen. So John Cena, first name declaring for the Men's Rumble. I mean, automatically he's the odds-on favorite, not just because he's the only one announced, but I just felt like that was kind of logical anyway. I talked about it last week when we made our 2025 predictions that I could see and probably predict. I'm going the most obvious choice here, although I don't really necessarily want to see him win. John Cena winning the Royal Rumble, and it feels like we are headed in that direction. But, Mr. Marceau, I do think it makes more sense to have him face more adversity by losing in the Rumble, even losing at Elimination Chamber, which he's already advertised for that show, which I don't know what you do with him on that show unless he just appears and fucking says hello and leaves. I would just have him do another match at WrestleMania. I have a specific name in mind, but I would not put him in a World Championship match in Mania. So how do you see the first few months of this John Cena retirement tour playing out?
Yeah, I think, like, you kind of... I mean, I want him to win the Rumble. I think having a build-up throughout the year would probably be ideal and probably get more life out of John there. Like, if he goes to the belt and then doesn't win, then you're kind of downhill sliding from there. So at least if he doesn't win here, and then he kind of builds it throughout the year, at least a year of like he's building it throughout the year. If he loses that Mania, that's April. So what do we do for the next 6 months? You just trot him out there, sell some T-shirts, and just remember John Cena for being a glorified loser. I mean, I think they need to build it up to keep your interest in Cena throughout the year. Don't give the payoff in April. Wait till November or December to finally get the payoff. So, or even August, like maybe win the belt at SummerSlam, has a belt for a couple months, and we move on. But I mean, doing it now, I think it's a good story. I think like Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, like the story's there, like you want to see him win, and then he comes up short, and he tries again, he comes up short again, and then finally gets the big break. I feel like that will tell a better story than him just winning the Rumble here, going to WrestleMania, losing, and then now what's next for the next 7 months.
No, exactly. I mean, I could see a scenario where he wins the Rumble, but then loses at WrestleMania. But you don't even really want to see that, though.
No, I think they should. If he's gonna win, they might at that point you might as well put the belt on him. I think he shouldn't win it. Like they come up short, like Michaels, try again, comes up short again, and then like he builds himself back up to finally winning the belt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think going off of that, I would do the exact same thing. I would have him lose at the Rumble, lose at Chamber, but win his first match because he's talked about I haven't won a match in 8 years. I don't think the first match that he wins in 8 years. Well, first of all, he hasn't won a singles match. Is what he meant. He's won matches. He's won tag team matches. He's won, shit like that. He won 6-mans, whatever. He hasn't won a singles match since 2018. That's what he means.
I mean, like I said, I think he just like comes up short at Rumble, tries against the Women's Chamber, like maybe someone screws him out of it. He's on the cusp of winning, and he gets screwed out of it. Then you set them up for Mania. Then he goes for the Money in the Bank, and maybe these people, he may be still feuding with this person. They cost the Money in the Bank, then they blow it off at SummerSlam, and then going into September, October, he finally gets his chance, wins the belt, holds it for a month or two, and then loses it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best way to do it. I would not do it anytime soon, but I think later on in the year, the second half of the year is when you would put the championship on him. If you even have him even if you give him a run, I mean, you could always give him the championship. I mean, I think we've talked about this, but could you give him the championship in his last match and then just vacate it? But I mean, you don't like that idea, do you?
I mean, imagine if Gunther held the belt for like 2 years, he lost the team.
Well, if Gunther's still champion at that point, but
true, but like imagine champion all year for 2 full years, and they lose the Cena, and he just vacates it.
No, that would be silly, but I don't know if they'll be champion. I mean, especially not Gunther. I'm not sure Gunther will make it past the Rumble, let alone 2025. But I know what you're saying, though. I understand what you mean. But here's one name I'll throw at you because not your question specifically, but I could see a question being, okay, then what do you do with him at Mania? If he's not facing Cody, he's not facing Gunther, which it sounds like he might, then who does he face at WrestleMania? Well, to me, my opinion, I think he should face Drew McIntyre. I mean, I don't really have another obvious opponent for McIntyre at Mania. McIntyre said, I'm going to run through the bloodline. He failed on Monday. He lost to Jey Uso. We might get that win back. I don't know. I don't see him facing Roman at Mania. I would like to see him face Roman at Mania. I think that's a cool match. I just don't see that happening. But I could see him facing Drew, and then Drew being like, "Hey, listen, fuck this shit. Everyone's against me. I hate CM Punk. I hate Rollins. Whatever. I want to take out a big name at WrestleMania." I know it's not ideal for McIntyre to lose to a fucking 47-year-old aging veteran, but I mean, Cena winning his first singles match in 8 years at WrestleMania against a top name like Drew, I feel like would be a nice spot for the two of them, and he gets Drew in a prominent match in the card. That could be more storytelling based, and Drew could carry him, as opposed to them going out there and having like a great match, which I'm not sure Cena's, technically capable of at this stage of his career. So what about that? What are your thoughts on that?
So it's funny you say that because
Okay.
I don't hate that. I don't think Drew needs to keep going after the bloodline. If you're kind of around, honestly, I was thinking you do him and Owens versus the Usos. I mean, him and Owens have some kind of alignment right now. Jay just beat him on Raw. You kind of continue that. I mean, Owens is fighting Cody right now, but maybe they just, like I said, their still common enemy is Roman Reigns. We talked about last week, what do you do with Jay at WrestleMania? Really don't know. What do you do with Drew at WrestleMania? I don't know. Owens, same thing. I think if you did the Usos versus Drew and Owens would be a pretty good match. I mean, like I said, they're teasing some kind of alignment. Usos. I mean, seemingly that's where they're going to go, back together. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate that idea, but like I said, I think Drew and Cena wouldn't be bad either.
I'll take it a step further and say, what if we don't get Punk and Rollins again at WrestleMania, so Rollins does not have a match? So we get the match that you just pitched, but you add in Sammy and Seth. So it's Seth, Drew, and Owens, who all form an alliance against the OG Bloodline because they fucking hate them and they've ruined their lives. They all face Sammy and the Usos in a six-man tag team match.
That's fine. Honestly, Cena should just face Solo at WrestleMania. There you go.
God, no, absolutely not.
Win back for Crown Jewel, and we move on.
That is awful. Absolutely not. He got his win back when he put him. He put him through a table last year, Mania. Wasn't that enough?
No, we need more.
Oh god, that's terrible. Nick said Cena doesn't need a belt. Just let him have fun with old and new foes, and just let him go out with grace. Yeah, no, Cena doesn't need a belt, but I think they won't be able to resist. And they also think they want to sell like 1 million fucking jerseys that have the number 17 on the back. I just feel like it's gonna. I feel like there's no doubt in my mind that Cena will win the championship this year, which is fine. I just don't think it needs to happen anytime soon.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best bet. We do have a new champion crowned, and Rhea Ripley, as of Monday's Raw, winning the Women's World Championship from Liv Morgan in a non-last moment standing match. They took away the stipulation without explanation and never acknowledged it. They just had a regular match. It was a good match. I actually enjoyed this match, I think, more than their SummerSlam match and their Bad Blood match. But Rhea Ripley did win the belt back, clean. She also laid out Dominic with a riptide afterward, which should hopefully indicate that the feud is indeed over. They've done all they can do. They've milked this for all it's worth. She hit her with the finisher, and with Liv and Dominic with her finisher, and that's it. So now we can finally move the fuck on. So your thoughts on this, Mr. Marceau?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good match overall. I thought it was probably better than the SummerSlam match. I thought it was well. I was a little surprised at the end. She did hit her with just like Riptide 1, 2, 3, and Dominic was just standing there. I figured she may have had to. I guess she did get like his comeuppance at the end, but I thought I don't know, why didn't you just like pull the referee out or like put her foot on the I don't know, like like the heel thing, like he puts her foot on the rope and then she kind of like beats him up.
Yeah, of course.
Pulls the referee out. He just kind of stood there. She at least at that point had knocked Raquel down. That she was kind of a non-factor at that point. But I was a little surprised that she didn't like take Dominic out or didn't get involved. But then after the match, she hit him with the riptide. So maybe they went with that instead. Like instead of getting involved, she'll just lay him out after. So no issues there. Just a little side nitpick, but. Rhea winning, put both out. I would assume you probably have to move probably one of them to SmackDown. One of the, I don't know. I don't want to see like Liv and them on Raw still, and then Rhea still champion. I don't know. How do you just move on from that? So I think you'd have to move one of them to SmackDown. I don't really know exactly what you do, but
yeah,
I'm glad it's over. It should be over. Literally, the payoff was Dominic getting his ass kicked. She hit him with Riptide. Move on, please.
Yeah, that would probably be the best way to do it. Just move on. New opponent for the two of them. Again, I don't know where Liv Morgan ends up at WrestleMania. I've seen rumors of maybe the Judgment Day in the Wyatt 6, maybe with Nikki Cross or Alexa Bliss coming back soon, obviously, as we all know. Maybe I could see Alexa Bliss. What'd you say? It's better than her not being at WrestleMania at all. She wasn't even at WrestleMania 40, so I mean, it's better than nothing, right?
Who?
Liv Morgan.
Yeah, I guess, but the Wyatt 6 are just like, I don't even know how to describe them.
I mean, it's
like
an over group.
Low mid card trot out there when they need people to pop because kind of there at this point. So I mean, I guess it's something, but like I said, she was champion for almost a year, and now you're gonna throw her out with that team. I guess, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, I would rather that than her just be inserted immediately into the IC title picture. I think that should be reserved. I mean, I know Becky's a much bigger star, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, the belt should be for mid-carders, and then Becky comes in and fucking wins the belt or, faces Lyra for it. But I just feel like that makes more sense than Liv going for the championship, so.
No, yeah, great, but like, I was with Becky and Lyra, there's like a story there already. It's not like she's going for it against like Dakota or someone, like, so.
Yeah, eventually, I think Liv can hold that championship or the United States Championship on SmackDown.
Agree.
I think she's tailor-made for one of those two titles, just not anytime soon. Were you shocked? I heard you were shocked by the negative reaction that Hulk Hogan got on Monday, coming out to a chorus of boos. I know you might have been the only one cheering him.
I mean, I was drinking my American beer. I was drinking my real American beer when he came out.
Come on, he's a real American.
When he came out, I was like, geez, he looks rough. And then, like, he must be in the early 80s at this point. I look it up, he's 71. I'm like, he looks rough for 71. I mean, he kind of just shot his normal spiel. Raw, Netflix. Gave me like WrestleMania 30 vibes. Like, it's great to be here. And just kind of plugged like he normally does. And Jimmy Hart was probably blowing his rotator cuff, swinging the flag. But besides that, it wasn't what it needed to be, I guess. To trot Hogan out there. I mean, he's a legend. I know people don't really care for his political views, but I mean, he is one of the reasons we're still here. So just gotta accept it at this point, and it was what it needed to be. At least it wasn't like 30 minutes like The Rock. I'll take that. It's a minute or two blabber, basically.
You mentioned that it was what it needed to be, but the question is, did it need to be anything? Like, listen, did he need to be on the show though? I know he's a sponsor with his beer now, but it's like, listen, I know he's probably, because someone said to me, well, that's it. He's never going to be back on TV again. All right, hold your horses. He'll be back. Don't get your hopes up. Hogan's going to be back. Whether you like it or not, he will be, okay? He'll probably be at Saturday night's main event, first of all. Second of all, I don't know. I thought this came from Fightful. I don't know if it was a fake report. I didn't have time to look into it. Well, two things. One, I think they had said that he was surprised by the reaction, which does not surprise me at all, because Hogan seems completely fucking oblivious. He just says dumb shit. This was the same guy less than a year ago. He did an interview. I don't know if it was Chris Van Vliet or someone else, but he said, listen, people have forgiven me. People move on from stuff. If they can forgive and forget about Chris Benoit, they can forgive and forget about me, which is the wildest fucking quote I think I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, that is absolutely the most asinine thing I think I've ever heard ever. He just has no clue what's going on. But I think the other part of the report indicated that the next time we see him, whether it be at Saturday night's main event or maybe soon after, he could be a heel. Like, listen, if he's going to be on TV, and he should not be a regular at this point, this is not TNA in 2010. But you know what? I had seen someone make this idea or come up with this idea. Why not put him with the American Made group? Honestly, not have him manage them, but like, what if he endorses them? If people don't like Hogan that much, which, listen, I get it, then honestly, have that heat go onto a group like American Made. If he's a real American, don't trot him out there like 80s Hulk Hogan if he's going to get booed. Like, at least embrace it. I feel like that would make more sense.
Yeah, but why would he endorse a job below mid-card team?
Because they're pro-American, just like he is. They're real Americans.
Yeah, but they suck.
Well, I mean, they don't have to suck. Chad Gable's great. You can, you try to endorse him. If they move to SmackDown. Well, that would be if it was a permanent pairing. This would just be I'm just saying if we have to see Hulk Hogan on TV, which we do not have to see Hulk Hogan on TV.
We need
Then no, the fuck we don't. Jimmy. Listen, he got booed out of the building on Monday. The politics have a big part to do with it, but it's that was a big reason for it, but he's also just said and done a lot of dumb shit. Listen, the guy got booed in his hometown in Tampa, the most like Republican city that he's probably been in for a wrestling show in the last 5-10 years. He got fucking booed out of his hometown in 2021.
A lot of fake Americans, if you ask.
Back to the Wyatt Six for a second. Alexis asked, how long do you think the Wyatt Six thing is going to go on for? I just think it shouldn't be a permanent thing, like maybe for a couple years max, just because we'll be so far gone from Bray's initial idea. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Marceau? How long does the Wyatt Six go on for?
It's a great question. I mean, I guess as long as they're still on merch, I feel like they'll try them out as long as they can.
That's the answer.
Besides, they just did the carrying stuff. They lost coming out of that, and then they did the whole Gable stuff. They really haven't been anything too prominent. So I guess, like I said, they're kind of like just like a low mid-card team. They kind of just trot them out there. People are going to react to them. I'm not sure if they're ever going to do anything of substance, but I feel like eventually it'd probably wear off. Like the brain nostalgia, just because they're not really doing too much. But I would say probably a year or two max. I mean, like I don't think they see any of these people individually as anything great. So I think that's kind of pairing them together. Like if you break up Uncle Howdy by himself, I don't think anyone cares. Same with Rowan and Loomis and Gacy and Nikki Cross. I mean, they're kind of like a group of misfits anyway. So
yeah. I
would say a year max. I mean, I think it just depends on how long they get the nostalgia and people care about the whole act. So I would say probably a year or two max.
Yeah, I feel like that makes the most sense. I feel like you could do that and get the nostalgia out of it. If they're still selling merch at that point, then you can continue doing. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, break it up by 2026 or 2027. I mean, when it organically makes sense to end the group, then you end it. I feel like it will probably not last longer than a few years. I don't think we're sitting in a New Day situation where they're going to be together for a decade. If it makes sense to break them up and have Bo Dallas do something different, then if they hit their ceiling with what they can do, which some people might argue they already have, then that's fine. They're doing the Final Testament thing right now. They're probably having a match next week. Alexa Bliss will be back soon. She'll probably be back. I could see her back. Obviously, the rumor is that she'll be back as soon as next week.
Is she gonna be with them though?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, do you think she'll be separate? I mean, I think it's absolutely. I mean, they've hinted at it a lot of times. If you followed all the clues on Raw recently, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see her on her own as the goddess. Do you think maybe she's back in the Rumble as herself? I think she'll be back very soon either way.
I guess when you say the clues, I guess what do you reference?
All the stuff they've put on Raw, especially with like the online stuff, the end is near. I mean, I have to send it to you, but all the vignettes and stuff like that, they've aired on Raw very subtly. But I mean, I think the big speculation is that it's her. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think hopefully she's not bleeding blood out of her face again. That was goo.
We don't need that shit again, yeah.
But she really liked her as like the goddess. Probably go more to that, like the supernatural stuff was kind of, I'd say probably the biggest downfall of her main roster run. I just feel like it wasn't really done right.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she was like the little girl, like didn't overly love that. I'm more of a goddess, like the original Alexa Bliss fan. So please don't be bleeding black blood out of your face and dressing like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, that was weird. From like 2021, yeah, we don't need that shit. Main event on this show, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, very good match. Punk wins clean, and then goes on to say before the show abruptly goes off the air that he has a sight set on Cody Rhodes and Gunther and winning the Rumble. I mean, I would just give him a World Heavyweight Championship match at the Rumble, because if it's not CM Punk, I don't know who the fuck faces Gunther at that pay-per-view, if anyone. Gunther has not been on the show in person. I know the vignette aired for him on Monday, but he's not been on the show in person in like a month. So it's like we got to start figuring out who his next challenger is. Like, why is he not on the show at all? I think it should be Punk, though, coming off this match. So, your thoughts on the match, thoughts on the finish, and is this the end of the feud? Is this a one and done, or are we going to revisit this for WrestleMania?
I mean, he beat him pretty decisively. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I think they could run it. Yeah, I mean, I think they could run it back. I mean, Rollins basically hit him with everything but the kitchen sink and came up a little bit short here. So I think there is an out. I mean, he basically hit, like I said, he basically hit Punk with everything. But like I said, Punk also did beat him 2 GTSs, and he sounded like he set his sights somewhere else. So maybe that's kind of just like a tease, like, oh, I'm going to go after Gunther and Cody, and then face it Rumble or somewhere down the line, they kind of rekindle it again. I would probably run it back to Mania. I don't think we need to rush it. At that point, we can also flesh out him and Roman eventually, so we don't have to get that right away. I would drag it out to Mania. But that's my thought.
I would drag it out to Mania, too. I mean, we've already talked about this, but I could see them running it back for the World Heavyweight Championship if Punk wins the belt by then. Or just a regular match with a stipulation of some sort. I feel like it would just be unfair to cut the feud short here. But Rollins looked pissed, dude, after he lost that match. I'm talking in kayfabe. I'm not talking like really, but like actually. But he was selling the loss, and I think we could see a Rollins heel turn for their next match. I think Rollins could be the heel by the time they face off next one-on-one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he seemingly getting away from like the freaking Rollins.
Oh, thank
stuff,
God,
like the
please.
Whole, like fancy dressing up stuff. So
Yeah.
to get him away from that would be a thumbs up in my department.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no issues on my end if he goes heel and loses the goofy side of his character.
I agree. Last two things here for you, Mr. Marceau, before I let you go. NXT New Year's Evil was on Tuesday. We had The Rock appearing. That up-and-comer Rocky Maivia appeared at the end of the show. But more importantly, we had three new champions crowned, which was fucking weird because we didn't talk about this last week, but Charlie Dempsey lost the NXT Heritage Cup Championship to Lexis King when we went to NXT at the taping in Lowell a few weeks ago. And then in the following week, they reversed the decision because technically he won by DQ. Only for Lexis King to get the belt back here, the fucking cup, rather. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That there's so much overbooking on this brand right now, it's crazy. But we did have two more other champions crowned, and Julia winning the NXT Women's Championship from Roxanne Perez, and Obafemi winning the NXT Championship in the Triple Threat, pinning Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe. Thoughts on the new champs? I thought both matches were good. I did not predict. I mean, I got to give you your props, Mr. Marceau. We sat here a week ago. You called it. You called two new champs. I only called Julia. You called Femi. I thought they would go forward with not Eddie Thorpe. I thought Trick Williams would pin Eddie Thorpe. And he did not. We had Omafemi not only winning the championship, but he pinned Williams to do it. Really good stuff here, and we got two new champs, and now it feels like indeed a new era in NXT. So, talk to me about it, Mr. Marceau. What were your thoughts?
I wish people could hear me patting myself on the back right now. You can't hear it over. I think it was just the right move. I mean, I think maybe thought. I mean, my thought sometimes is they're like not what they should do, is what they're going to do. Like,
yeah.
Keeping it on Trick and fleshing it out a couple months would have been what they normally do. So I don't think you were too far off there. Like, they love to push things on and just not strike when the iron's hot, like we always say. But I thought Femi and Julia was more of I thought was a lock. With Femi, when they put Thorpe in there, like, maybe they can drag it out until Stand and Deliver in their Mania. But I think the new year, new champions, new face of NXT, both the right decision. Julia's great. Roxanne had an amazing run. I'm assuming she'll be called up by the Rumble, and she'll be on the main roster, and good luck to her. And for Trick, I see the same kind of thought. He'll be in the main roster soon, but I think Femi is great. I still think he needs some time to develop a little bit more, so I'm glad they're not just rushing him to the main roster. And then Julia is great as well, and they have a lot of other great women down in NXT. So I think both was the right decision. Both were good matches. No issues on my end that we got two brand new champions on NXT. Alexis King winning the Heritage Cup. I don't care.
Hey, well put. You know that. Listen, I don't want to complain, but Omafemi winning the championship was great. But if we had the match originally advertised as a singles match between Femi and Williams, that then became a triple threat, that then went back to a singles match when Thorpe got attacked on Tuesday by Femi, and Ava gave him no consequences, I guess because she doesn't like Eddie Thorpe. And then it turned into a triple threat again when Thorpe came out, which it was always supposed to be a triple threat, so you kind of figured he would come out, but it was mostly a singles match. And then Femi didn't even end up pinning him. He ended up pinning Williams. So again, what was the point of all the overbooking? It just was, again, making it more convoluted than it needed to be.
I mean, like you said this before, there's been a lot of convoluted booking lately. Bull show where like the booking every other match, the one they taped, were like, what is going on here? Like, it seems like we're in Bizarro world or something. Yeah, sometimes the booking can be extremely convoluted. I mean, most people thought the reason Thorpe was in there so either Trick or Oba would pin him, set up the rematch, but no, Oba pinned Trick here, so I mean, it's not like I'm clamoring for the Oba Eddie Thorpe match anytime soon, but maybe that's just something they could do to keep Femi busy in the interim. But yeah, no, there's a lot of, like I said, even with the whole Lexus King and Charlie Dempsey thing, we were there, like clear as day. The referee thought that Dempsey used the brass knuckles, even though he was knocked out cold. Like, it made no sense. Like,
yep.
There was a lot of convoluted booking. I don't know if they're just trying different things and it just comes off terrible, or if someone's shooting a bad idea and they like just do it, and people are like, "What's going on?" But interesting. But like I said, both people won that were needed to win, and no issues on my end.
Yeah, at least on that end, at least it was the right outcomes. Overbooking aside, it was the correct outcome, so I'm happy about that. Last thing for you, Mr. Marceau. I know you texted me right after the news came out saying, hey, when are we booking our trip? Saudi Arabia hosting the Royal Rumble in 2026. I'll get back to you on that one. But your thoughts on the Royal Rumble being in Saudi Arabia next year? I know this was rumored by PW Insider. WWE made it official on Monday. This was rumored a while ago, and I think we talked about it at the time that they want a WrestleMania, they want a Rumble. The funny thing is, they already got a fucking Royal Rumble. They got the greatest Royal Rumble back in 2018. Deal with that shit. And they're not settling for that. They want Royal Rumble, the actual Royal Rumble, and they're getting that. So it is what it is, and it's happening next year. Your thoughts on that?
It's Riyadh season, baby.
God.
I mean, I don't know what else. Check.
Yep.
It's Riyadh season. More of a Jeddah guy. Sorry if you're Riyadh. I'm more of a Jeddah king.
Okay.
More of a Jeddah guy. Booking my trip to Jeddah. Maybe I can go to the Superstore. I think that's in Jeddah. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Good for them. I would be interested though. I think they do the two night WrestleManias and they're like, oh, I think it is plausible. I think they could do like a 2-night WrestleMania, but maybe like night 1's in Saudi Arabia, night 2's somewhere in the United States, or like you don't really have too much crossover. I think in both nights. So I'm trying to be picky here, but if they really want to do that, they could do like one night in Saudi Arabia and one night in the United States.
What if they don't get it at all?
They're gonna get it.
They're both nights are gonna be there.
Money coming out the.
That's like that's like WrestleMania 2 shit, where they were like in different cities in one day. I don't know if logistically they could do. It is, but logistically they have a lot of like the same production shit in the same place. So I don't know if they could pull that off. I don't know. I mean, it would be better than them getting 2 nights, but I don't know if logistically that would work. That would probably not work. Maybe, I don't know. I guess it'd be better than 2 nights in Saudi, right? You'd be at one of you if you were gonna go to one of them, you'd be the one in Saudi.
If it's in Jeddah.
Only if it's in Jeddah, not in Riyadh.
I'm a Jeddah guy.
Yeah, you're a Jeddah guy. That makes sense. Hey, listen, we say it now, we joke about it, but it's probably a very real possibility for some point down the road that WrestleMania could be in Saudi Arabia. This is happening, which means, you know what this means, right? We got to go back and watch the greatest Royal Rumble of all time and relive the greatest. It was indeed the greatest Royal Rumble. We might have to do a watch along one of these days. I think Tucker had that great breakout performance. Him and Babatunde both.
I mean, he broke out. I mean, he almost won the belt the next month.
He did.
He was looking over. So.
He was so good that he broke right out of the company.
I agree.
Babatunde as well. We'll talk more about it next week here on WrestleRant Radio. Mr. Marceau, of course, new episodes every single Thursday on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and right here on YouTube. If we continue to try going live here, if I can get the fucking stream stuff to work, then it's going to be on YouTube as well in video form, so be sure to check that out. But stay well, Mr. Marceau, and I'll catch you next week.
See you later, brother.
All right, brother. Take care. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. I think if you go back and watch the stream from the beginning, we kind of got off. The beginning was cut off for some reason. It was only like 30 seconds. You didn't really miss much. But next new live episode next Thursday for WrestleRant Radio. But before then, though, SmackDown Live, not the show itself, not SmackDown Live, but live stream talking SmackDown on Saturday right here on the channel. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, all that great stuff. Take care, and we will be back very, very soon here on the channel. So until then, guys, have an awesome one. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.
Thursday, as they run down. Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.